Throughout this season of Easter, throughout these 50 days, we hear each Sunday a reading from the Acts of the Apostles and Revelation. In these two very different books in the Bible, we do not get a classic historical view. Instead, what we get are glimpses, vignettes of the proclamation of the risen Christ. In Revelation in particular, which is what I wish to deal with today, we are dealing with a symbolic, strongly eschatological book in the Bible. I wish to reflect on the illumination with the 7 churches referenced from Revelations 2 and 3. You can see in this illumination these 7 spires, and Donald Jackson illuminated and scripted this entire volume, using again the idea, the approach from Genesis 1 with the 7 days of creation. A strong vertical sense here across on each of these towers that represents the different traditions across the span of 20 centuries of history. The 7 churches that are referenced in Revelation 2 and 3 are in fact situated on the west coast of present-day Turkey. They're not the only churches. These churches are probably in proximity to the writer of this volume. They represent the Latin, Greek, Coptic, Ethiopic, and Syrian traditions, all of them extremely prominent in the early Christian world. To the right, you see the Lamb that is slain, the Lamb of God from John's Gospel, but also the Lamb that is referenced in Isaiah chapter 53 in terms of thinking about the death and sacrifice of the servant. Powerful words immediately to the right. You are worthy to take the scroll and open its seals. And that scroll and its seals are under its feet. Of course, there are 7 of them, because 7 is a unifying number across the entire book of Revelation. Here we see at the very bottom of this illumination here, the false idol. It represents the golden calf from the book of Exodus. Pulling across the page, we see still another illumination that picks up the themes from this revelation, from this illumination, and that classic text of holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, who was and is to come, spoken again by the 4 living creatures in the book of Revelation. Scripted again in Syriac, Greek, and Latin. Note that these illuminations here, as well as in the rest of the book of Revelation, pick up the color scheme from throughout the entire 7 volumes of the St. John's Bible, representing, if you will, the whole gamut of human emotion, from confusion, from violence, from anger and frustration, to joy, to happiness and elation, to delight. All of them represented in this volume. And in fact, that's what the early church experiences in its efforts to live the gospel. On the very side of this illumination here is a unifying text that serves, if you will, as a strong thread through the early chapters of Revelation. Let anyone who has an ear listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. This idol, which is being cast out and out of frame here, is referenced very directly and strongly in the letters to these 7 churches. The language is frank, it's challenging, no punches pulled. It represents an overweening desire to have wealth and control, backbiting and unfaithfulness and a lack of charity between members of specific communities that are, or just lukewarmness. That is no longer attending to the message with the same kind of energy and enthusiasm that were there at the beginning. All of these, for the writer of Revelation, represent ways in which we go our own way. We do really what we want to do. We want to name the terms. So the question I leave you with today is, how do we in our own time think about this golden calf, this idol?